Hello, welcome to Tuesday's Tales. Today, our story is The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. It's one of my favorite stories. I hope it is yours too. It's going to be awesome. So let's get started. At the far edge of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing, excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old Onceler still lives here. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkin on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffler moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks, tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather's snail. Wonder if he, needs nails, or, wonder what he does with that stuff. It's pretty mysterious. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count, to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his gruvulous grove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slip! Down slips the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear. And since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swammy swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming and splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, All my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. Okay. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I'd built a small shop. That I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft, and I knitted a thneed. The instant I finished, I'd heard a ka-thump. I looked, and I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. "Mister," he said with a sawdusty sneeze, "I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs." He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, "What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tree?" "Look, Lorax," I said, "there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing's a thneed. Thneed is a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt. It's a sock. It's a glove. It's a hat. But it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats." The Lorax said, "Sir, you're crazy. You're crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed." But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. $3.98? That's a lot. Okay. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. "Shut up, if you please." I rushed across the room, and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, "Listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken. Sharp right at South Stitch." You know, he could listen. He's not being very nice. And in no time at all, in the factory I'd built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now the chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived, eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruits to go round, and my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm. I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the needs I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again, he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed, he sneezed and he snuffed, he snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffulous croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swammy swams, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. They can't. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough, they cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smugged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity glup and also sloppity slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. You're glupping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed, so I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I am telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do, and for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggerin' and biggerin' and biggerin' and biggerin', turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. Getting loud. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees. No more needs. No more work to be done. So in no time my uncles and aunts, every one, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left 'neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance, as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself up and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word: unless. Whatever that meant. Well, I just couldn't guess. But this was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch! Calls the Lorax. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. The end. And Bible story for today is from the very beginning of this book and the Bible. The beginning, perfect home, which grown-ups you can find in Genesis chapter 1. Almost tried to make that rhyme. It's too much of the Lorax reading, which, by the way, was published by Random House. But our story is found in the Jesus Storybook Bible. It is called The Beginning, a Perfect Home. In the beginning, there was nothing. Nothing to hear, nothing to feel, nothing to see. Only emptiness and darkness and nothing. But nothing. But God was there, and God had a wonderful plan. I'll take up this emptiness, God said, and I'll fill it up. Out of the darkness, I'm going to make light. And out of the nothing, I'm going to make everything. Like a mommy bird flutters her wings over her eggs to help her babies hatch, God hovered over the deep, silent darkness. He was making life happen. God spoke. That's all. And whatever he said, it happened. God said, "Hello, light." And light shone into darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. "You're good," God said, and they were. Then God said, "Hello, sea, hello, sky," and a great space opened up wide and deep and high. "You're good," God said, and they were. Then God said, "Hello, land," and there, Splashing up through the oceans came cliffs, mountains, sandy beaches. You're good, God said, and they were. Hello, trees, God said. Hello, grass and flowers, and everything everywhere burst into life. He made buds bud, shoot shoot, flowers flower. You're good, God said, and they were. Hello, stars, God said. Hello, sun. Hello, moon. And whizzing into the darkness came fiery globes, spinning around and around, whirling orange and purple and golden planets. You're good, God said, and they were. Hello, birds, God said. And with a fluttering and a flapping and a chirping and singing, birds filled the sky. Hello, fish, God said, and with a darting and a dashing and a wriggling and a splashing, fish filled the seas. You're good, God said, and they were. Then God said, hello, animals, and everyone came out to play. The earth was filled with noisy noises, growling and gobbling and snapping and snorting and happy skerfuffling. You're good, God said, and they were. God saw all that he had made, and he loved them, and they were lovely because he loved them. But God saved the best for last. From the beginning, God had a shining dream in his heart. He would make people to share his forever happiness. They would be his children, and the world would be their perfect home. So God breathed life into Adam and Eve. When they opened their eyes, the first thing they saw ever was God's face. And when God saw them, he was like a new dad. You look like me, he said. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever made. God loved them with all of his heart, and they were lovely because he loved them. And Adam and Eve joined in the song of the stars, and the streams and the wind and the trees, the wonderful song of love to the one who had made them. Their hearts were filled with happiness, and nothing ever made them sad or lonely or sick or afraid. God looked at everything he had made. Perfect, he said, and it was. But all the stars and the mountains and the oceans and the galaxies and everything were nothing compared to how much God loved his children. He would move heaven and earth to be near them. Always. Whatever happened, whatever it cost him, he would always love them. And that was how the wonderful love story began. For those of you who have never had a copy of one of these books, I definitely recommend it. It is great. It is so great. Alright, that is for Tuesday's Tales for this week. Usually we're on Facebook Live, so be sure to catch us on there next week. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.